Welcome to Tales from the Trenches Tuesdays. Today, it is my honor to have Brieanna Quinn with us.
Here's a story of a fundraiser who was launching his very own web show. Each episode is very short due to edits, so it can really flow. Here's a story of a podcast guest star who was busy raising money of their own. They were each great in their own way, fundraising in its own. Till the one day when Jack asked a guest to join him, and they knew it was much more than a jest, that these guests must somehow form a resource. That's the way they all became the podcast guests. The podcast guests, the podcast guests. That's the way they became the podcast guests.
Brieanna is the Director of Individual Giving at Merit America. She has over 20 years of philanthropic development experience, raising record-setting donations at higher education institutions and national nonprofits. After graduating from the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy with a master's in philanthropic studies, she spent over a decade working for small and large universities, building comprehensive annual giving programs. Over the last decade, she worked in K-12 education advocacy and policy organizations where she was responsible for corporate and foundation giving, high net worth individual giving, and building a culture of philanthropy. She brings an innovative and collaborative approach where meaningful change is possible. In addition, Brieanna understands that developing thoughtful relationships takes time and approaches each encounter thoughtfully to ensure solid and lasting relationships with internal and external stakeholders. In her free time, you can find Brieanna at the gym lifting weights, hanging out with her mini goldendoodle Maelyn, or watching football in the fall. Based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, the month of May is spent at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway gearing up for the Indy 500. Well, welcome, Brieanna.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We all have parts of the job that we love. We all have parts of the job that we don't love so much. So tell me about what is your favorite part about being a fundraiser?
The people. It's definitely the people. The people, whether it's the donors, whether it's the people that I work with, whether it's the beneficiaries that we're making an impact, hands down, it's the people. I am happiest when I can listen to the people who have benefited from our work. So at Merit America, we had an offsite back in May, and they brought in some of our learners, and to hear their stories and to hear the difference that we have made, like, that is where I'm like, okay, this is why I know it. Like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to make a difference, and I want to empower people to be the best version of themselves. So hands down, it's the people.
Okay. Which is, what most of us are in there for. And what's then the flip side? What's the part that you just hate about being a fundraiser?
So I'm going to say the politics with the little p. Like, I am not the kind of person that is going to, I'm not good at poker faces. I'm not good at massaging, like, how am I going to say this? Like, I'm just who I am. I'm authentic. I'm vulnerable. I'm transparent. And so when there's any political stuff going on, whether it's office politics or anything, like, I just am like, oh, like, let's just do the work. Like, what are we doing? And so I would say, and I think it's becoming more loud here in the United States. It just is what it is because of what's going on politically here. Everything kind of just has a little bit of a political vibe to it, for better or worse. And so for me, I'm like, no, we're all people, we're all individuals. Like, again, it goes back to the very beginning of our conversation about how people are nuanced and complex, and it's not just black and white. And so I try to approach every conversation that I have, whether it's external with a donor or internal with a colleague, in that manner. But it can be hard. It can be hard.
Excuse me, education has always kind of been your go-to in the fundraising arena, which is really interesting because most folks who have been in fundraising as long as you have kind of gone from education to social service to healthcare to maybe even religion. They've kind of tried out all of the different types of charities that are out there. So you're a bit unique in the fact that you've kind of honed in on one specific area. Was that a conscious decision, or was that something that was happenstance?
I don't think it was necessarily a conscious decision, but as I look back on my life, I can see why. And so first, I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I'm the only person in my family to have a master's degree. My dad growing up, so when my dad was a child, he had the decision to either go to the K-12, the public high school down the road, or go to a private Catholic high school. But if he did that, he had to pay his own tuition. He had to pay the tuition. And he made that decision to do that. He wanted the better education, so he went to the Catholic high school instead of the public high school. Not saying I don't want to get into the public-private K-12 education debate, but he decided to go to that high school. The priest at the time told him, "You will not get your diploma until you pay back your tuition." And he did. My dad paid back the tuition, and when he did, the priest was like, "I didn't think you would really do this." My dad's like, "Yes, I did." Now, there are vouchers and other things in the United States to where my dad would not have had to do that, but he did in the, late 60s, early 70s. And so I think when I think about why is education, workforce development, my dad being blue collar and just, finding the skills. He was in the Air Force for 4 years. I think that's sort of why subconsciously, I've always been in some sort of education and now workforce development, because it just makes sense to me. It's kind of ingrained in who I am.
Wow. It must have been quite the profound impact.
Yeah, I just think, and if I go a little deeper, in that story, the thing is my uncle went to the public school, and my uncle, for better or worse, has had some struggles as an adult, been in and out of jail, has had some challenges. My dad, same upbringing, went to the private school, got the right education, has never had an issue with any of that. And so I've always have been I think education can be the key, but not everybody has the same access. And we got to fix that.
Right. Wow. That's a profound statement. You can kind of think back and you can kind of see the test case, right? So there's the control group and there's the non-control group. So I'm a strong advocate of evidence-based anything. So the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Well, Brieanna, this has been absolutely amazing. If folks wanted to get hold of you, how would they go about doing it?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Brieanna is spelled Brieanna, Quinn, Quinn. We can also thank my dad for that spelling. He wanted all the vowels. But yeah, I try to, so if you followed me on LinkedIn, you'll see that I went through about 7 months of looking for a new opportunity, and really just sort of found my people, and was very vulnerable, very transparent, very authentic about trying to find a new role in the nonprofit sector. And I try to pay that forward. If people reach out to me and they want to connect, they want to have a 15, 30-minute conversation, I try to say yes to everyone, just so that I can pay it forward. I have talked to people in Africa. I have talked to people in Switzerland. I have talked to people in the United States. And so, yes, please reach out. Happy to just have a conversation. I think we're all in this together.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, folks. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right here.